Components in Angular. In this video, we will see how to create component and how to use the component. What is component? A component is the main building block of an Angular application, and each component consists of an HTML template that declares what renders on the UI, a TypeScript class that defines the behavior, and this TypeScript class will contain the data and functions or methods that required by the component, and a CSS selector that defines how the component is used in a template. There are two ways of creating component. One way is using Angular CLI, another way is manually creating component. First we will see how to create component manually. I have Angular project that we created in last session. Here you can see that app component is present under SRC. So here I am going to create a component. So before that I am going to add the folder users, and inside the users I would like to create the component. New file, and each component will follow the some naming convention that so name of the component like users dot then component dot ts is the file extension. So it follows the name of the component like either users or whatever, and then the component word, then the extension of the file. So here ts is the extension. At the first line of the component we should import the component interface. So import and open and close the brackets like this from, and component interface is available under at angular slash core module, and here we write component. The component is an interface and it provides the configuration metadata for an Angular component. Now we have to declare the component decorator. Component open and close parenthesis like this, and inside that open an object. So this component interface is now become decorator. So when you use the symbol at, then it's become the decorator. This decorator will accept an object and this object will have some metadata. So this component provides some metadata, so that in the metadata we contain the properties called selector. This is CSS selector and this name can be anything. So I use app hyphen users, and even you can use comp or component like that, but I just use app hyphen users. If we go to Angular CLI JSON or Angular JSON in Angular 10, you can see that prefix app. So it follows the prefix app, but it is not mandatory. So that's why you can see that in the app component.ts, we can see that app-root. Now we have to define the HTML code that is going to be rendered on the UI. For that, we need to use the template property. So you can use the single quotes or even you can use the double quotes, and you can follow this ES6 way to write the HTML code in multiple lines. H2 users component. Now it is time for writing TypeScript class users component. Again, this name can be anything. Our component is users, that's why I am using users component here. So now the actually what is happening here, we have created this user component class and we decorated this one using this @component. So this user component will have the selector app users and the template whatever you have written here, and you can write the some styles also. So this is how we can create the component. In order to use this component in any template, this component must be part of at least one module. We should make sure that this component is available for the module. So for that we need to export this module. You can use the keyword here before the class export. Now this component is exported and this is available for the modules which wants it to imported. So as I said, in order to use the component in each template, it has to be part of at least one module. So instead of creating another module, in this video, I am going to add this users component to the app module itself. So before adding it, we need to import it. Import from the users component is available in the users folder. So we need to go one step up, dot, and users folder name, then users.component, and here you have to write users component. You should make this user component as part of the app module, so we need to add it in the declarations of the app module. So all the components that are going to be used in the template of this app module must be part of the declarations array. So that's why you have seen app component is already there, and same way users component also we have to add here. We created the component and we added the component to the app module. Now it's time to use it in a template. So let's go to app.component.html. Here I am going to use the users component. Like any other HTML tag, you can use the users component also. So our component selector name is app hyphen users, and close it. Automatically it will add the end tag, and now save it. Now let's go and run the application. Ng serve hyphen open. Compilation completed, and there you go. You can see that this is app component, and this is from the app component and users component text that we have defined in our user component template. So we successfully created our first component, and now go and press F12. You can see HTML here, elements here, like body, app root, which is nothing but this is app component. And when you open this app root, you can see that app users. So app users component is nested inside the app root component. Now if you want to add some styles, we need to add the CSS. So for that, we have the property called style URLs, and it accepts array of values. So before adding it, now let's go and create one CSS file under the users, and this CSS file or HTML file or component file, everything follow the same naming convention. So users dot component dot just will change the extension like CSS, and here I write h2. So we have h2 element, and color I mention orange. Save it, and here we need to mention it in the double quotes dot slash. We have to mention the relative path users dot. You have to mention the complete file name component dot css. Save it. We can see that our build is compiled successfully, and go and see users component is highlighted with the orange color. In template, we have only one line of code, but in real time, we will have more lines of HTML code, and it is not advisable to write everything in the property, and even it is not maintainable. So we need to separate this code. To for that, we need to create one HTML file and refer it. So let's go and create same way users dot component dot html, and now this is the template file, and here I just use the same thing. We need to refer the template URL, and you can use either template or template URL. Now change it to template URL. Mention the value in the double quotes dot slash users dot component dot html, and save and go. You can see the same result. As I said beginning of the video, the TypeScript file will define the behavior. This TypeScript file will have the data and also have the functions or methods to define the behavior of the user component. Here I will create the data like name, which is string, In TypeScript, this is how we define the data type, name, colon, string. So this is string type and value, let's say Krish. And in order to show this on the UI, we need to use the expression. Like in JavaScript also we have expression. So this expression will evaluate the property or whatever the code that we are going to write inside these brackets. So here I write name, save it, and let's go and see. You can see that Krish. So in our upcoming videos, we'll see more on data binding. Let us add some behavior. Like let us add some function and try to call it from the template. Before that, I will define one variable message and empty, and this is also string type. And you know that whatever the variables we declare, these are called instance variables or class variables also. Here I write one arrow function show message equal to, and whenever this show message is called, I would like to assign the value to the message like welcome to Krish message. And see, when I type message and enter, it is adding this dot message. So if you want to access the instance variable or class variables inside the methods, you need to access using the this. So this dot message equal to welcome and plus this dot name. Now let us see how to call this method or function from the HTML. So let's remove this and add one button message. Like in JavaScript, we have event handlers like on click and on mouse over like that. In Angular, we have event handler called click, and this has to be enclosed in the parenthesis. And we are going to bind the method here show message, and this is called event binding in Angular. Now let's save it and go to the UI and click on the show message, and here we need to write the message and use it here. And now let's go and click on the message. You can see that welcome Krish. This is how we can create a simple component in Angular manually. So using the selector name only, Angular will instantiate the component. So wherever you mention this selector, it will look the selector and it will instantiate the component. So to instantiate the component, Angular must find this component at least in one module. And that's the reason we added that component in the app module. And not just app module, if you want to create your own model, you can create that one module and refer that model in the app module. And we have the template or template URL which defines the HTML code that going to be rendered on the UI, and the style files that are going to add the some styling to the component. And we have the data, and we can create the data like this, and we have the function to achieve some behavior. So this is how we can create the component. Thank you for watching. So in our next video, I will be explaining about how to pass the data from parent component to child component and child component to parent component and more. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel.